Welcome everyone to another episode of Purposely. Today I have Rex Avashrabi. I think I've
Afrasiabi.
Oh my God, I
Afrasiabi.
really stuffed that up. Say that again so that I can.
Afrasiabi. Just go Rex.
Afrasiabi. Okay, sorry. That was really, really a
Not
shit
at all.
intro. But anyway, Rex and I actually met, oh my God, like I reckon 7 years ago, maybe
Potentially
more.
longer. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe is it 10 years ago?
I reckon it's closer to 10 because it was the book, or you can explain the rest.
Well, I think maybe 9 because I reckon that the Big Umbrella had been around for about 12 months before we created a proper board. So Rex came onto the board of a not-for-profit, the Big Umbrella, that was run, or it's still being run by one of my best mates, Justin. And we became friends and we've kept in contact, and Rex has actually helped me quite a bit. He runs a law firm called MA Legal, and he's an absolute gun, and I can't wait to share his story today. But before we get right into it, I like to ask my guests a really simple question. So if you were at a dinner party, if you were allowed to go to a dinner party, we're kind of allowed now, kind of, a dinner party.
You can go at restaurants.
At
Just can't have
restaurants,
people with you.
and you met someone new and they said, oh, g'day Rex, how are you? What do you do? How do you explain what you do?
I do a lot of things. Predominantly a lawyer. I have my own law firm with 20 plus people, started from scratch, and from there I've expanded into some property developments, mortgage funds, and other various businesses and interests that keeps me busy.
It certainly does. You seem very busy. I mean, I follow you on Facebook and on Instagram, and I love your content. It really resonates with me as a fellow business owner. And we were just talking about the fact that we're both Gen X, so we're old. We're not millennials. We're not cool, but we're trying to be.
We're on the cusp, bro. It's not necessarily just Gen X. We're just
Gen X. We're cuspers. We're Zennials. We're a crossbreed.
The best kind.
Best kind. So let's hear a little bit about your story. So let's hear a little bit about your story. Let's go right back to the start and hear the story of Rex. How did you end up becoming a lawyer and then deciding to start your own law firm? Because it's a pretty ballsy move. A lot of lawyers would go and work in one of the big law firms and make shitloads of money doing it that way, but to having the courage to go out on your own, it's pretty amazing. So let's hear why you did it.
Why I did it? Well, I was at a bigger firm in my initial career. I was at various larger firms, left those firms, went for a boutique firm he represents 3 people in the BIW Rich 100 list. So it was kind of high-end boutique work, very hands-on. I was much younger, single. I even have blonde hair and blue contacts, believe it or not. I can see pictures later. They were based in South Yarra, and in the same building was a fashion company that does opticals and sunglasses for Sass & Bite, Sea Folly, and some other brands. So anything optical and sunglasses, not made by the designers, they license the name out, and these other companies do it. Being younger, single, and the people going their clients compared to who's coming to our office, I joined them as the general manager / legal counsel. So that was a bit wild. A lot of international travel, a lot of local travel, Sydney all the time, a lot of fashion shows, etc. It kind of burnt me out to some extent. Like you'd land Milan, stay for 10 days, like work really long hours at a trade fair or something, out at night afterwards for dinners, clubs, whatever. You wake up.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, well, when I got, after 18 months or so, I met my now ex-wife, which we're lovely. We're still really good friends, the whole lot. And she thought it may not be a great idea for me traveling all these international fashion events and the like. So that MA was born. I had an opportunity to go back to big firms and other stuff, but I wanted the freedom, and I wanted to
Mm.
transition out of the fashion industry, I suppose. So by doing so, I worked. Initially, it was like 4 days at the fashion thing, 1 day at my own firm, and then throughout time got busier and busier. Within the first 6 months, I was full time at my own firm.
Wow. And so tell us about MA Legal, because you specialize in commercial kind of law, and I know that you're an entrepreneur and you love business. Why did you take it down that route, and do you specialize in anything in particular, or is it more just general commercial law?
It's commercial litigation.
Yep.
So we do, and from that comes property and things like that. I like to do business myself. I think being involved in a commercial law firm, you get first-hand experience on what to do and what not to do from your clients' mistakes or how to do well. And if you're good at what you do, you get a lot of opportunities thrown at you as well, with clients saying, do you want to invest in this, or whatever the case may be. And I've been fortunate enough to jump into some investments and make do well from them. Also lost money on some investments, but it gives you that first-hand experience. I love what I do, recommend it to anyone, and you help people. You genuinely help people, which resonates, and it's more rewarding than anything else. I know it sounds cliche, but it's really true. And because commercial is based on money, you're helping people without getting into too much emotions. Like, I'm not sure if I could do family law or something like that one. It's very emotional.
Yeah, that'd be full on. That'd be draining. So, do you actually go to court? Like, you do litigation in court? Do you wear
I
one of
do.
those, like those wigs?
Wigs? No, we don't have to anymore. We used to. Some barristers still do it. It's to protect their identification. So if you're in a criminal
Really?
case, yeah. So if you're a prosecutor and you're prosecuting a criminal, it's supposed to give you a veil of protection, I suppose, where they can't recognize you if they go on the street.
I never knew that. That is fascinating. That is so interesting.
Other
Um,
reasons.
I actually wanted to be a lawyer, and that was my
Really
dream.
good at it.
Yeah, I wanted to be a barrister, but I didn't get enough. I didn't get good enough marks at uni to study law, and I'm kind
It's
of
never
glad that.
too late, Emily.
Oh no, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what I do, and I feel like I've fallen into a profession that really suits who I am and my personality. And obviously, working in HR, we do employment law without being lawyers, so we still get to do deals and do all that stuff, fight the good fight.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Each matter can be like a chess game. You're
It is.
about strategy on anything you do. You got to think ahead and think, okay, if I do this, what's going to happen next, and plan ahead for it.
Absolutely. I love Suits, the show Suits. I don't know if you ever watched it. I was a late adopter. I only just watched it like last year.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I know. And I just loved it, and I just wanted to be Harvey. Who's just so cutthroat. I just thought it was awesome. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So being a business owner, so how long have you been in business for yourself now?
Over 12 years.
12 years. You're a veteran now.
A veteran.
Yep.
MA was the first one, and from there expanding to other things, but still the mothership, I suppose.
So I've just got a question for you. What's your most favorite case or job that you've worked on that just sticks with you and was just, I don't know why, but like it just sticks in your mind, something that you're either proud of or that was horrific? I don't know. Tell us a really interesting story about your most favorite case.
I've got so many. Like each file becomes a little favorite file, because as you see someone go through the journey, if they've started off with like in dispute or something and you've come to the end of it, it's just that journey. Like for you, it's work, it's every day, you're doing something that it's day to day, but for someone else, they've entrusted you and it makes a big difference in their life. And you need to be appreciative of every file like that, and appreciate that these people not only entrusted you, but it makes a big difference in their life. You can't just take it as work necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. to them it's more complicated.
It is, because you're quite often dealing with very like it's like HR in a way, in that there's enormous amount of conflict. You're dealing with people, and you're trying to navigate through contracts and laws that are not necessarily black and white. It's very grey. So it's about navigating that grey and getting the outcome and making sure that everybody's happy, but also making sure that everybody understands what's going on, which is it's a skill. It's a skill set that not everybody has. So
Is it a skill set or is it just a care factor? Because you're right, it's really important everyone understands what they're going through, and some people just don't take the time to explain it, or the care factor to explain in detail why it's that way. So in my opinion, if a client or a customer or a friend is going through something, we're helping them, I like to explain it really in detail so they have an understanding of how the mechanics of it works, so they can make an informed decision rather than me saying we should do it this way.
I love it. I love it. So what's been your biggest learning being in business and being a business owner? Because I'm sure when you started off and where you are now, you've got some different kind of lenses and perspectives based on your battle scars.
Yeah. People. The hardest part of any business, or for me anyway, is people. You can't do what you do unless you've got the right people around you. And I'm blessed to have my team, some have been for 7+ years. But each one is motivated differently. You need to communicate differently. You can't have one approach to everyone. It doesn't work. And it took me a while to realize that. And to be sensitive with some, and but you also need to be vulnerable. If you're not vulnerable with your employees and transparent with, not employees, team members, you can't expect them to do the same with you. So I think you need to give as much as you take, and it should always be a two-way street.
Absolutely, I would 100% agree with that. But you probably know that, given I'm pretty passionate about people. But it's so true, because it is the hardest part. You can have this great product or service, and unless you have the right people on board who are going to 100% believe in what you're doing and what they're doing, it just doesn't work. And I've learned along the way that sometimes people aren't the right fit, and they don't fit with the culture. And I'm sure you've had this experience. In a small business, there's nowhere to hide, and they can bring the team down. You're only as good as your weakest link. So I think it's really important to make sure you've got the right people on your team, because if you don't, you're going to be losing money and potentially losing your good team members.
And what you said is so true about culture. Building that culture and making sure each member is invested in that culture. And it becomes difficult sometimes when you've got, the high earning member of your team who can generate revenue but doesn't fit your culture. And it's a financial decision to what do you choose? Do you choose the revenue or the culture? And in the past, I've been guilty of maybe not choosing the culture, and it's cost me more in the long run. So what I've learned is culture and the team comes first, no matter what. And it's worth losing that fee earner or whatever the case may be, for the sake of the greater good.
Absolutely. I see this all of the time with the clients that we work with in the sales team. So sometimes in the sales team, the highest...
There's always that 10-ton gorilla or whatever they're referring to.
The highest performing salesperson is a bit of a dick, and no one likes them, and they rub people up the wrong way, and they've typically been allowed to get away with it because they bring in so much money. And then it becomes this really negative conundrum that the business is stuck in, because it's, are they going to choose people or profits is essentially what it comes down to. And what you said is 100% true. If you don't deal with it in the beginning, it's going to cost you more money in the long run, because those people are toxic.
Yeah, or transitioning into helping the most junior salesperson, or getting them more involved and committed into the business somehow, is, I think, important. if you that as a first step, instead of firing someone who's your greatest revenue earner, because not many people want to do that, try to mold them into something and being consistent with it, because it's really easy to go back to old ways.
I 100% agree. So do you believe that people can change?
I do. I really do. I think it's a matter of mindset and how you can, your perspective or your focus on something. And not only can you do it for yourself, you can help mold someone else's in your team member by the right management styles to make them change.
Yes, I would agree. I think that everybody's coachable, but they have to be willing. And I think that sometimes organizations get it wrong in terms of just going, okay, well, we're going to performance manage you out rather than giving the person the opportunity. But then I think sometimes it goes the other way, where they give people way too many opportunities.
Yeah.
And then we get the call saying, oh, Emily, we've got this person who's not performing. Can you come and get rid of them for me?
Yeah. It's not necessarily the best way to do it. I think it would be better to try to transition into something that not just for performance, but to fit the culture and help the team.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent now. A couple of years ago, I remember seeing on Facebook or Instagram that you started training to do enter a fight, like a boxing fight. You did. Like, I was so inspired by that because I love boxing. I actually did boxing when I was younger, and I've done jiu-jitsu. I love sport. I love training, and I want to talk through what your thinking was around why you decided to step into the ring and actually engage in a. I mean, is it a professional?
Boxing fight? Yeah.
So full on.
So similar to yourself, I started with kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, and my idea was to get into a cage and do a professional MMA fight. I was talked out of that. The skill set required and the injury you can sustain for that is quite high. So it was transitioned into boxing. And I was going to do it a couple of years ago, but then I literally tore a calf muscle, so I couldn't do it. Then I had a child, which the greatest thing in the world to do, but that set me back. So last year, I was actually on a different podcast. It started last year, and the person mentioned it to me themselves, and I go, you know what? Not that I've forgotten it, but I never did it. So mid last year, I started training again for it, and December 6th last year, I had my first professional fight, I suppose, like through the boxing board and stuff, in front of 1,500 people at Melbourne Pavilion. It was a great experience. Highly recommend it. It's not about win or lose necessarily. It's just the experience. I was unfortunate. So I'm not sure if you saw this on my Instagram. So I got a 4.5 centimeter tear in my bicep 10 days before the fight. So I had a muscle tear, which I was told not to fight. And I had a cast all the way to, even fight night, I had a cast before the doctor checked it, and I took it off. And so I had the fight with kind of one arm because I couldn't really straighten, and I was sore for so long. But you can still protect yourself, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh my God, Rex! I didn't see that. I must have missed the end part of it. I just remember seeing you training, and so you actually fought with an injury.
Yeah, a torn bicep, which is not recommended.
Did you win or lose?
Sorry, I lost on decision.
Yeah,
So it wasn't about win or lose, but yeah.
No, but and what was your biggest learning from that experience?
How far you can push your body. So I was doing about 10 to 14 training sessions a week, and some will go for 90 minutes. And the coach I was using he's a lovely guy, but he's a bit like, he'll do 100 burpees, couple rounds of boxing, 100 burpees. Like, it's a bit full on, and you don't realize how much your body can take. Just to say 100 burpees in the past would have been, are you serious? But then in some training, but that was just in one go, and then you do a couple of rounds, and then you do another 100. So in one night, you might do 300-400 burpees, and you would say, what in between doing boxing, and you just realize how far your body can push, and it's more mental than physical when it comes to that. The thing about the coach is he does it with you, every single one. And
Is he like
he's
the fittest person
60 years
ever?
old. Sorry?
Is he like the fittest person ever?
I think he is. He's just amazing how fit this, and he's 60 years old.
What?
60 years old. I went to his 60th birthday last year as well. So, and he's
Wow.
just abs on abs and veins, and yeah.
Just amazing. I don't think I could walk the next day if I did 100 burpees.
But that's the thing. Neither did I think I could. But you just realize that your body can handle so much more than your mind lets it sometimes.
Wow. And so for that whole time you were training, you didn't drink, you didn't party, you were just like clean as a whistle.
Clean as a whistle.
How did
I
you
might have had a couple of wines here and there. Sorry.
how did you feel up here, like just being that clean and living that clean and being pretty much like an elite athlete?
You have a lot of clarity, but you get tired as well because you're
Mm.
waking up, you're doing a 60, 90-minute session in the morning, 60, 90-minute session at night. So you're constantly doing stuff. So your body just, after a while, not that it wears down, but it's an element of fatigue kicks in.
And when you finished the fight, what did you do to celebrate? Did you just go crazy?
I was in so much pain because of my biceps. So there was all this stuff to go out. I ended up going straight home. So yeah, didn't do much.
I just imagine you at the bar, just woo!
Yeah, that was the plan, and it was like I was in a sling and in pain. So yeah, didn't do much afterwards. But highly recommend it.
I imagine like the adrenaline rush that you would get after doing something like that would be quite extraordinary. Like I know, um, I love skiing. I know you love the snow as well. Like just when you have an awesome day on the snow and you'd go through that process and you're in the bar after that, like there's just this energy and I've heard that like at the end of a marathon, all the marathon runners go into a bar and apparently they go crazy because they've literally not drank or they've just been so clean for months training and they just and they're riding the high and the endorphins and like I just imagine that would be kind of fun, but obviously you missed out on that. So do you have any plans?
I was going to do two this year. I was going to have two fights this year,
Yep.
but it's kind of COVID has put a spanner in the works. So boxing gyms and stuff are open again, which is great. So I personally haven't been back this week yet. I'm enjoying the restaurants being open more than the gyms at this stage. So once I get over the social aspect of it, I'm going to start training again and hopefully have another fight next year.
And so how have you coped with COVID? Like, I know for me being a business owner and also being a parent during this time, it's a lot of stress. Like I just feel like I'm exhausted and I can't wait for this year to be over and to have a break. How have you coped? I know that you're really fit and you exercise a lot and you focus on self-care, but what have you done to keep yourself
That was
sane?
mainly COVID inspired. So the initial lockdown, I was doing what everyone else does, which is just wait for it to be over. But then after a while, I go, well, I'm never going to get this opportunity to do nothing. So I'm going to try to focus on stuff that I wanted to do, but I've been too busy. So my fitness has improved. I bought DJ decks, so I'm becoming a DJ. So I've got a lot of COVID inspired hobbies that I've loved and I've maintained. Now that they've been coming out of lockdown, I've maintained it. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good year to not reset, but to build. For me, I took the time to look at the stuff that I want to do extra in my life, and now that I've got extra time to do it because you can't do much else. You can work, but then after work hours, you really can't do much. So, so I took that time to read, to pick up some hobbies, train more, just eat better, do more food prep and stuff. So it was really good. It's been good. I'm hoping to maintain it. We'll see how that goes. I haven't done well so far because I'm out every night, but it's fun as well.
That's fair enough. I think we're all being let off the leash, and we need to enjoy our freedom. But I did see you posted something on Facebook, or I can't remember if it was Instagram, about your food prep, and it was like intense. You went out and bought a whole trolley worth of like little containers and stuff. And I actually laugh because, Rex, I think we're spirit animals. You seem like a very extreme person. Like if you're into something, you're like fully into it. Would you agree with that?
100%. If I'm into, almost too much into it, some people would say, but you got to, why not give it your best shot?
That's
If
it.
you're
And
going to,
do you think that that's that kind of mindset and personality trait serves you well in business as an entrepreneur?
100%, because you don't
Mm.
give up. You won't take no for an answer. Whatever hurdle you've got, if you're that fixated into something to do the best at it, there's nothing that will ever get into your way. And even if it does, you just don't care. You just walk through it. Um,
I agree. And so that leads me to my next question. Do you think that everybody has what it takes to start a business? Because it feels like being an entrepreneur is like this thing now that everyone's like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to quit my 9 to 5 job and hustle and be an
and
entrepreneur.
work a couple of hours a week only, whatever the
Yeah,
fake perception of
laptop
it is.
lifestyle, yeah, and live by the beach. It's going to be amazing. Do you think that this is for everyone and that everyone should do it?
I think everyone should do it. Is it for everyone? Probably not. That most people don't have the courage in themselves or the right mindset to think it's not easy. Whoever has told you working for yourself is easy is lying to you, because initially it's very hard, but it's also becomes your little baby. You care for it. Parenting is hard. Parenting is probably harder than anything, but
Yeah,
people love it. Because it's your little baby, and your business can be the same thing, as long as you stick to it. If you're a parent, you can't just give up. You work through it, and if you apply those same principles to your own business and not give up and just work through it, you'll do well. But just prepare yourself for those long hours or
that's it. And
sleep.
the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows, because it's not all like an Instagram feed where it's like your
Yeah.
highlight reel. Um, yeah, there's some there's it's tough. So on that, like, what have you gone through any kind of major um, like tough times that have really pushed you to the limits? Like, have you ever wanted to give up?
Yeah, maybe not give up. We go through tough times all the time, unfortunately. The toughest time I went through was when there was some allegations made against me by an employee that went through work cover and went through a civil claim and all of this stuff that it all was honestly bogus and thrown out by work cover and stuff. But just that was difficult because your team members become your family, almost your
Yeah,
extended
yeah,
family, and for someone to make those allegations against you makes you like, did I make him feel that way? Was my actions that way? Yeah, that was probably the toughest time I personally went through.
yeah.
Other things about staff members leaving and going to fill them up quickly because of workload and stuff. You just go through those. There's no point getting distracted by it. Just work through it.
Yeah, I think at the beginning when you first start your business, I found that things like that would happen and I'd get really upset, like they'd really rattle me. But now after 10 years, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I just know that everything will be okay and that, like, there'll always be an outcome and it'll pass. It's like everything's temporary. And I think that that's just something that you have to learn, because at the beginning you're like so hyper sensitive and you just want everything to succeed, and when it doesn't, you get like, I used to take it really personally and feel like I'd failed.
I think that's so normal though. And it's from experience too. The more you go through it and get over these little hurdles, that you realize it will be okay. But telling myself when I first started, I don't think I would have convinced myself to do it, unless it's just experience that you go through hurdles and you realize if you just keep working through it, you'll get through it. The
Correct.
moment you throw in the towel is when you don't get through it.
Exactly. And so what's been the best advice someone's given to you in regards to business that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Uh, the best advice was one of my first clients, quite a successful multi-millionaire. He told me, whatever you do, just for the first 5 years, and then afterwards, but still for the first 5 years, don't stop. No matter how successful you get, no matter how big or small or whatever, just don't stop. Give it that same passion as you did from day one. And it's true. And I've maintained that throughout. I didn't stop after 5 years. He told me to. And you can just, if you have that same drive and motivation, you can push through anything and still want to grow it, still want to do more. You just sometimes personally, I've got to find different things to motivate me. Initially, it was like to get to these figures or whatever, and I realized over time, money doesn't mean anything and won't give you. It's not a sustainable motivation.
No.
So yeah, I sometimes trick my own brain to create rivalries in my own brain. I'm not a rival person, but I'm a competitive person. So if I
Yeah.
create competition in my own head, makes me push myself harder. And some of the competition I've created in my head, they probably don't even know they're my competition because they're probably not. But I've created this in my own head to drive myself.
I love it. I love it. Rex, it's been amazing speaking to you. If people want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they find you?
I'm on all social media platforms. Or my website, malegal.com.au, Instagram or Facebook. Rex is Insta, REXYS_Insta is my Instagram. Feel free to follow me. I
Amazing.
do
And
post every day, so you might get bored following, or you might get overwhelmed following me. So I'm warning you now.
I'm not bored. I'm not bored yet. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome talking to you. Thank you for sharing your journey. Is there anything else that you would like to share with anyone out there, all the entrepreneurs or people who've started a business that are listening?
Keep working hard. Don't be outworked, and just seek out whatever you want to do. You'll get there.
Love it. That's great advice because I think it's sage advice from two old Gen Xers.
We're not that old.
No, I don't feel old at all. So thank you, Rex. It was amazing talking to you. We finally got there. We had a few false starts, but
Sorry about that.
that's okay. We made it in the end, and we will be sharing all of Rex's handles when we publish the episode. But thank you so much for listening, and go and follow Rex. And if you need any kind of legal advice, MA Law is amazing. I can attest to that, having used them for my own business. So have a great day, and thanks once again.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks.